Om. Namaste, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're all having a great day today. Thank God it's Monday. I want to start off with something out of a book that I love to read, White Fire by Mooji. Highly recommend the book. Something is hiding, but I am here to tell you it is not really you. It is your self-portrait, the idea you have of who you are, which you will wear until you discover your true self. The true self is without shame, without blame. It is eternally pure. Every human being has this eternal purity inside, and in satsang, it is being unveiled. We are opening the curtains of the body-mind identity to see behind. Initially, something is afraid of being seen because we have an idea that underneath the surface of our expression may be something ugly. But the awakened one sees this as another layer of illusion. Is it that the person is actually real, but when you stand in the place of awareness, the person only gets hidden but is somehow still there? No, it is not so. The person is never real. The sense of personhood appears real because of ignorance of our true nature and our interest in living as a personal self. This is called distraction. We always imagine we are in the real state and that we are personally real, but actually the person's world, like the person itself, is a dreaming. What is real is the I am, the sense of conscious presence, which witnesses all this but remains unaffected. Amen. Today I want to talk to you guys about sin. I know sin is something that is thrown around a lot, especially with Christianity and people that are Catholic, and a lot of people are afraid of this word. They think immediately that it's something that they did wrong, or it has to do with something that they inherited from their past, and it makes things seem very helpless. It makes people feel like they're already sinners, so what's the use? My understanding of sin is not anything like what the religions teach. And I also feel that Jesus or the people that were truly teaching sin don't agree with what a lot of these religions teach. If you're not familiar with the word sin actually comes from a Greek translation which means to miss the mark. It has nothing to do with people that are broken. It has nothing to do with feeling like you're not good enough or that you're naturally a sinner. Although we all do miss the mark from time to time, there's nothing worse than to get upset at ourselves for sinning, because sinning is part of the design. Sinning was part of us learning, us evolving, and God, the Creator, created faults so that we can transcend them and grow. And also because He wanted us to one day, He, she, Source, whatever you resonate with, wanted us to understand how we are actually pure. We are beyond sin. That the energy that is looking through all of our eyes, the light that is transmitting through our bodies, that is giving us life, is pure loving awareness. And we were that energy before we became these bodies. These bodies are just a shell. They're just a mask that we have put on temporarily to be able to live in this realm, to be able to grow and expand and learn things that we wouldn't have been able to learn if we didn't have form. So this is almost like a play, a divine play that God has created for itself to grow, to learn how to love, because it needs to first see what love feels like when it's not there. You can't know perfection if you don't know imperfection. You can't understand love if you haven't been hurt. So these are all ways that the Creator has decided to create for us to all understand that we are beyond the body. We are beyond this form. We are beyond this world. That this world is changing every day things change. Every day our body changes. Every day our emotions, our thoughts, everything around us is changing. And what's important is for us to really contemplate what isn't changing. There has to be something here that is the foundation, the base of all of creation. And the more we contemplate the idea of what is really here, what am I, what is the I that has always been here and will always be here and will never be affected by what is here, because it has to be here in order for what is here to be seen. You can't have something if there isn't a space for it to be in. So there is a canvas, if you will, that the Creator has created that we can't see with our form, but yet we know it's there, because without it there wouldn't be space between me and you, or me and this phone, or even space between words, space between objects. These are all things that must exist prior to form. And that field, that background, if you will, that canvas, that screen in which the projector is playing the movie is God, is Source. And just like we have the ability to play the actor in the movie, we also have the ability to be the observer of the actor in the movie. So we don't have to get stuck in just form. We can see the world from the eyes of Source. We can understand that there's different dimensions that we can resonate with, that we can reside in, that we can observe and be aware of. And from these higher realms, from these more open, empty realms, we are able to look at our issues as a human being and not be pulled, not be pushed, not feel like we're sinners, not feel like things aren't working for us. Instead, we can learn to, just like a movie, see what's happening in the film, but not get too attached to it. And this allows us to see things from a higher perspective, from a second seeing, from the all-seeing eye, as the Illuminati like to talk about. They're really talking about that observer standpoint, that observer point of view that allows us to all see life without getting caught in the drama and all the stuff that keeps us feeling like we're not good enough, keeps us feeling like we're sinners, makes us react in hurtful, hateful ways. If we can learn to be empty, like the Buddha speaks of, if we can learn to be still and know that Dai is God, like Jesus speaks of, we can enter a new realm. We can enter the promised land, the realm of nirvana, heaven on earth, and we can see how life is set before us for our benefit, that nothing in front of us is to hurt us. If anything, once we get our mind right, once we get our perspective right, we can see how it all plays a part. It's all part of the grander scheme of things. We just have to have the ability to see it and not be so afraid of failing. Understand that failing is part of it, that the more we fail, the more we know. Fools get wise in their folly. So if we're afraid to fail, then we're never going to grow. We're never going to be all we can be. Let me see the comments real quick. Nicole says, it is a Christ-like consciousness you speak of, this higher big picture mindset. Yes, this is what Christ spoke of. This is what the Buddha spoke of. This is what Krishna spoke of. These are all people that are pointing us to this doorway that is all within us. The way, the truth, and the light, I am. As Jesus was saying, he was speaking about the great I am. He was speaking about the ability to unlock a pathway back home through our heart, to be able to just be so at one with ourselves, so at one with the moment, that nothing can deter us from the light that we have within us. And this is not easy, because life, or there's a force in our life, whether you want to call it the devil, the serpent mind, that is constantly going to test us, tempt us, push us, pull us, get us to do things out of fear instead out of love. And the only person that can stop listening to that voice is each and every individual in their own life. And just like my deceptive mind will try to deceive me in things that it knows that I will listen to, it might not work the same in your life, Nicole, or in your life, Dennis, or in your life, Bobby. You guys might have other weaknesses in your life that your serpent mind, your demons will use to deter you, to confuse you, to distract you from your Christ light, from your inner seeing, from the ability to just rest in the seeing that is seeing through your eyes. Because just like we think that we're seeing through our eyes, there's something higher than us seeing through the seeing that we're seeing. I know it gets a little complicated, but for someone that is really resting in their heart, these words will vibrate your entire being, because you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm getting the chills just talking about it right now. And it's unlike anything that you can experience with the mental, with the intellect, because the intellect likes to plan everything, likes to tell you what's going to go right, what's going to go wrong. This is real time, every moment, not knowing what's going to happen next, but yet trusting that everything that happens is for your greatest good. Faith. That is what faith is. That is what grace is. When you're faithful to the moment, then grace will run parallel with your faith. And that is when you will see God in the things that come to your life. You will understand how God is speaking to you through the messages that people bring to you, or the things that happen in your life. You won't need to see God. You won't need to prove that he or she is there, but you'll understand that you are taken care of. You'll feel that you are in the kingdom of heaven because you are a king. You are reigning over your reality. You are understanding that you have elected yourself. Therefore, now your reality will become enlightened as you become enlightened. Just like a sun shines its energy out and feeds plants and everyone that is in its radius, we too can become like the sun. We can learn to shine, to nourish others. But first we need to learn where that inner power lies, how can we fully connect with that Christ, that Buddha nature, that awakened energy that will just do its part. We won't have to control it. It'll know what to do. It'll know how to react. It'll know what to say to people. It's amazing when you're in the flow how you'll say things and not realize you said them till later, because it's not you that's really saying them. The ego is asleep. When you are fully awakened to what you are, it's almost like God is now using you as a channel of light, and you can now use the things that are coming through to you in real time, and someone might need to hear what you're saying. So that's why it's important that we all learn to get right within first, and learn to really bask in the glory of our peace, of our love, instead of looking for peace and love on the outside, thinking that, you know, my wife is going to give me love, or my kids. Not saying that those things won't, but it won't compare to the love and the peace that you have already within you. So if you're looking for something outside of you, why look for it outside when you already have it within you? It's just a matter of seeing it yourself, not being told. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that you have everything you need, but if you don't sit down and fight through your demonic tendencies, your insecurities, and find that still place within you, you won't make any sense of what I'm saying to you right now. It took me a long time to finally break through that barrier of my ego to see, and I still fall. I'm not fully enlightened. I've had bursts of true seeing, and they have floored me. They've made me realize how confused we see the world, how different, how we are living in the Garden of Eden, but yet because we're so caught up listening to our mind, we have forgotten, we have fallen, we're just not where we need to be. And now is the time to get back, to climb that ladder back home, to understand how amazing we all are. So, because you are delivering a message people need to hear, the ego actually knows very little, goes off of learned behaviors and situations. Hence that fear factor comes in. Ego feeds off this false sense of control. Nonetheless, ego has served its purpose for us, but many don't understand this light and darkness you speak of within sin. Here on this plane, we have polarities, much like astrology. If we can wrap our heads around this, we can navigate in grace. Yes, we have judged things as good and bad, and we don't realize it, but there's good and bad and good. There's actually things that you think make you happy that are actually keeping you enslaved. That's another trick that the ego will use. If it can't get you to go down on yourself, it will make you arrogant. It will make you think that you need certain things to get ahead, when in reality, by looking for something to be positive, you're actually declaring that the present moment you're in is not positive enough. So we have to be very careful as to what we listen to within ourselves. We can't be chasing a dangling carrot all the time and expect to find God when God is already here. So just like Francis of Assisi used to say, you know, what you're looking for is where you're looking from. So if we're so busy looking for an outside end goal, then we'll never realize that the end goal happens when we stop looking. When we stop looking, when we were kids, we weren't looking for anything, and yet think of how amazingly happy kids are. Kids don't have a destination. They don't need goals to be happy, but yet as adults, we give ourselves all these lists, all these things that have to happen that can't happen, and then we wonder why we're so upset. Then we wonder why we're so stressed. And these are all just ways that the temptation, the devil, the serpent mind, the monkey mind, that's its game. That's how it keeps us wishing for things to be better, therefore keeping us enslaved. If things were perfect, you wouldn't want things to be better because you would be grateful for what you had. So if you catch yourself believing these thoughts that things need to be better, or if only this would happen, then you'd be happy, then it's time for you to look at the thought and ask yourself, where is this thought coming from? Why is it making me feel like what I'm doing isn't enough? And this peace that I'm looking for, is it right here, right now? Or do I really need to go out there and find it? Because a lot of the time when I would just sit with myself, even when I'm angry, and see that the peace is actually here, it would wipe out all the things that were upsetting me. It's not easy, but it's so worth it when you transmute your own anger, because you see how powerful you truly are. You see how, you also see how fake the illusion of mind can be. If you see through it, you start to see the holes. You start to see that the veil is ripping. You start to see that things don't have to be the way they've always been, that you can actually change your perspective in real time, that from a higher perspective, there is something within you that is just watching what is happening in your life. Just like, picture a bird making a nest, and then there's another bird watching that bird making a nest, and it's watching how active that bird that's making the nest is. I'm inviting you to be that second bird. I'm inviting you to observe your life. See how active you are. See how there's ups and downs, left and rights. But also understand that there's a higher seeing, that there's something that you can see yourself from, and you can learn to identify with that formless seeing more than you are identified right now with your egoic seeing. Your egoic seeing is what's keeping you enslaved. Your formless seeing is what is going to help you see that all these ways that you're enslaving yourself it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually break free. You can break the chains. You can rise up. Once you get a glimpse of yourself, that is enough. Other desires fade away. No need to chase the sensation again. Just constantly remember the self. Yes, Kevin, exactly. It's like falling in love, like truly falling in love. Once you know what true love is, it's like nobody has to convince you what love is. You understand. And that is the same when you fully feel what your true self is, not the physical self, but what's beyond the physical, what is encapsulating all of creation and is also encapsulating you and me and everything. when you feel that force, when you see that that is really what's true, and everything here is false, it's kind of a mind fuck that the thing that is formless is the permanent, and the things that are formed are the impermanent. That's why a lot of people don't get this stuff, because how can you say that what cannot be labeled or named or identified is the real, and everything that you can identify is the unreal? It's very hard to wrap your head around, but that's why it's not something your brain can really understand. It's something you must feel with your heart, something that you must experience. When you start seeing God speaking to you through the formless into the form, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll fully understand how there's more going on here than what we thought. That it's not just a bunch of different objects just in a world, that there's something tying it all together, that there's a matrix, that there's order, there's something that you must yourself contemplate and meditate until you find it, and then you'll be astounded at how you missed it, because it just makes everything in your world look so different than it did before. A more heightened sense of awareness that and discernment do wonders for that self-actualization piece. Yes, and discernment is important. For a long time we would judge and say, this is good, this is bad. That has to fall away. There's no judgment in the higher realms. It's not about judgment. It's about perspective. It's about understanding that there is no right and wrong. It's more about, the vantage point. From your vantage point, it might make sense. From my vantage point, it might not. And that's okay. But for me to sit here and convince you that because my vantage point is different than your vantage point, you're wrong, that is not okay. That is very immature. That is not what an awakened being does. What an awakened being does is, when he sees that there's a different, he discerns. He turns the other cheek. He says, you know what? Kudos to you. If that works for you, that's great. I'm going to go do what works for me. And there's no animosity. There's no my way is better than your way. It allows for things to be different, and allows for things to grow and not be shunted and not be told that, you have to do it this way. That's all ego. Ego likes to convince others that its way is the best way, because deep down inside, the ego knows it's going to die. So the more it can reign its power over the world and over people, the stronger it feels, because it's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of, one day I will die, therefore I must bulk up and get big and show and prove to people that I'm the best. This is why when we argue and we lose, we feel like really horrible, because to the ego, it's dying. It knows that it's not real. It knows that its point of view was bogus, because the other person's point of view was just as valid. These are the things we have to start catching. We have to be our own judge. We have to be our own. We have to check ourselves. We can't wait for people to come and check us. We can't wait for a prophet to come and fix everything. That'd be great. I would love for the second coming to come, and Buddha and all these awesome souls that were here to come and fix everything. But then where would we stand after they left? We would be right back in the same boat. So instead, let's learn to integrate these lessons, these pieces of wisdom that so many teachers have left behind, and let's all become that universal life force that they became, because that's all that they wanted to teach us, is how they channeled it. We can too. We can all be Christ. We can all be anointed. We can all learn to lead a life of light and truth, and be the way of the Tao. There's just so much out there for the one that's hungry and wants to really learn and really dig in and really understand this stuff. I've been studying this stuff for probably over 10 years, and there's still so much more out there that I haven't even touched. But yet, connecting all the dots is amazing, because it just gives me more confidence in the system that creation has created for us to remember who we are, to remember what an amazing realm we live in, and how we can keep making it amazing if we learn how amazing we are. When you awaken, there is nothing but silence and stillness, no distractions or desires. Yes, desires become very, tough when you start to awaken, because you see how they can start very innocently at first, like, you know, oh, I'm gonna go out and drink with my friends or smoke weed. You know, that seems like such an innocent thing, but the more you awaken, the more you see that even little things like that, there's something that you're fleeing from. Therefore, at the end of that desire, you're gonna have to meet with whatever it was that you were fleeing from to run to that desire. So there's definitely more to it than just letting go of desires. It's also understanding, why do we desire things? What in us feels the need to desire certain things? And if we fulfilled something, would we still want to desire those things? A lot of the time, the answer is no. When you're fully fulfilled, then there's really no need to desire anything other than what life brings you to do. And then you just want to do it because it's the next thing to do in your reality. There is so much shadow work that needs to be done in the meantime. This is an endless journey to self, the endless growth and endless amounts of doors to unlock inside us. Yes, shadow work is tough. There's definitely a lot of people right now going through some tough shadow work, and that's why I'm putting myself out there. If anyone needs any pointers, or maybe a teacher that can help you with a certain part of your work. I've been through so many different phases in my awakening, and I'm sure I could share a light with whoever needs some advice, or maybe some topic that they need to tackle so that they feel better about where they're at. It's not easy. There's days where you're going to feel alone and like things just aren't working in your favor, but even those days will allow certain things to come up that you have to deal with. So just be strong, keep your head up, and I'm always here for you guys. If you guys do need any advice or any questions you want to ask, just feel free to message me. And I'm going to hopefully do more of these discussions where we just talk about real shit, about awakening, and about topics that just kind of flood through my mind when I'm driving to work. I'm trying to write them all down so that I have something to just talk to you guys about, because if I can help one of you guys make a connection, then to me my job is done, because I know there's been so many breakthroughs that I've had that have completely changed the scope of my reality. So it can be very helpful for other people to go through those same experiences. All right. Much love to you guys, and until next time, namaste. Peace.